We're going to look at a number of different ways that you can edit a standard bill of material within the Bill of Material Manager. We have a blank bill of material window open for a standard bill of material. We're just going to enter in a part number, and we're going to enter in WF202B, and it brings up that bill of material. So here's the existing bill of material for WF202B. When we look at the column headings, we're going to see little pencil marks. Okay, each of the pencil marks are columns that are editable directly on the grid. So it means we can go directly to one of these columns and start typing in. So for example, if I wanted to go to the item column and start typing in item numbers, I simply go there and type in item 1 and use my arrow key, use the number 2, use my arrow key again, number 3, 4, etc. as far down as I want to go. And what's actually happened is that we've made what we call a pending change to this bill of material, meaning that the change has been recorded in the Bill of Material Manager but not yet recorded in the database. So we haven't saved these changes back to the database yet, but I've made them in the grid. Likewise, we have our operation number. We could go in and say, well, I want these two things at operation 10. The next two I want at operation 20. Okay, and enter in 20. So we can also change the quantity per directly on the grid. And notice when I change the quantity per how my cost will change. So if I go out here and change this quantity to 2 and use my down arrow again, my costs tick up a little bit. And if I change that to 2, my costs tick up a little bit more. So not only am I making changes to the grid, I'm always changing the cost accordingly, so you always have a current cost of this bill of material based on the pending changes that will become effect. From there, we're going to look at other ways of changing. So for example, if I wanted to replace a component, let's say I didn't want the CS2700. I can come out here and right click on any component, and I have some additional options. I can add a new component to the bill of material. I can replace a component. I can expire a component, meaning change the expiration date, so this component would be expired. I can delete components, and I can delete multiple rows out of this bill of material. We're going to go in and replace a component, and it brings up a version of the browse screen, and I'm just going to type in a CS because I just want to look at parts that start with a CS. And I'm going to replace it with a CS2600. And when I click that, it brings back and it says, okay, I'm going to delete the CS2700 and I'm going to add the 2600 part. And again, these are out here as a pending delete and a pending add. So they haven't been updated to the database yet, but as far as the Bill of Material Manager goes, the costs are correct based on these new components. Finally, we're going to go in and look at the routing, because the embedded routing is part of the Bill of Material Manager. Whenever we're looking at a bill of material, we also have the ability to edit and change and look at the routings. So again, when I go into the routing, you'll see the penciled columns out here. Those are columns that I can edit directly on the grid. So I can go out here and let's change my setup hour for this particular wiring operation. I'm going to move it from a half hour to an hour. So I just type in a 1. And again, you'll notice the costs change accordingly based on those changes. And if my production hours, I want to add a little bit more here, so I want to go 0.15 versus 0.10. Again, the numbers roll up and continuously change based on the information I'm editing. Likewise, this column or this operation has a pending update to it. Again, hasn't been changed in the database yet, but it has within the Bill of Material Manager. And when we hit save at the end, all of these changes will be written back to the database. Likewise, I can do other things within the routing. I can right click on it and I can add operations or remove operations. I can also drag operations around. So if I wanted this inspection, or let's say I wanted the assembly operation to be in front of the paint operation, I can simply drag that operation up, and now my assembly operation is after the material operation. So all of these changes you can do within the Bill of Material Manager. When you hit save, it will take those changes and update the database accordingly. And now the database has been changed, and this is my new bill of material for WF202B.